Kia ora koutou. So thank you, Emma, for the introduction. So I'm Emma West, I'm the Engagement Manager at ARTA Institute of Canterbury. ARTA has gone through some iterations of change over the last 2 years, and many of you will be familiar with a variation of names. We've been the Christchurch Polytechnic, we've been the Christchurch Technical College, we've been the Christchurch Polytech Institute of Technology, CPIT, or CPIT if you want to refer to it as that. We're now, we also have recently in 2016 joined and established a new entity with the Aoraki Polytechnic in Timaru, and so the ARTA Institute of Canterbury has been established. So for many of you, you hold roles that are significant in influencing young people and your members, your supporters, your committee members and supporters around what the future might hold for them, around training opportunities, around what you can do to help them with their futures. So I want to talk to you about what that is and how we might be able to support you in those really influential conversations. So ARTA is the largest vocational training organisation in the South Island, and obviously with establishing the organisation with Timaru, we have a much wider regional spread now, geographical spread, and we talk about the fact that our spread is from Kaikoura to Oamaru, North Canterbury, North Otago to North Canterbury, and every nook and cranny in between that. So how can we support any person, whether they be a young person between 16 to 25 or more people in our age group, to build their skills, to build their capability and support them to have meaningful futures through education. We specialise in education for employment. So our activity that we do is primarily around providing people with the skills and capability to be able to go and get a job and to generate income for themselves and for their families. So it's skills-based training. When we talk about vocational training, it's being able to stitch someone up if they've had an accident, a nurse. We've talked about health and safety today. We've talked about financial responsibility. So how do you do all those sorts of vocational skills that you need in the workplace? And they range from trades training through to exactly those things: medical, business, accounting, creative industries, etc. We train over 19,000 students a year. That can be up to about 25,000 students a couple of years ago, prior to the earthquake. You can imagine that the earthquake has had a significant impact on education. You'll have heard it in the media. A lot of people left the community, left the region, and ARTA has been very successful in getting itself back to its pre-earthquake training space, both from an international student perspective but also a domestic student perspective. The international student market is significant for the education sector. It drives economic growth in our region. It brings people into our community that contributes to our growth as a community as well. So a lot of people pass through our doors or pass through our website through online learning every year. We have campuses, like I said before, we have campuses that spread from Christchurch Central in Madras Street. Hopefully you will have seen a hive of activity over there over the last few years. Woolston, which is our trades training campus on the corner of Ensaws Road and Sullivan Ave. That's another space that's had a significant amount of redevelopment since the earthquake. Campus in Ashburton, Timaru and Oamaru as well, as a result of the establishment of the new organisation. While we have physical campuses, the organisation is committed at the moment to looking at, we have a lot of online provision as well, and that's really important for clubs or yourselves where you've got members who are living in more rural sort of communities up in the Waimakariri or in Selwyn that you were talking about before. How can people get their upskill themselves through education without having to go to a physical space to do that learning? So ARTA has spent a lot of time in looking at how that delivery can be done in a blended way, and that's been a critical and targeted piece of work that we've been doing over the last few years. For those those of you who are, if you're anything like me, you like to learn by doing this, or talking, or doing, or being a part of something, asking a million questions. I was always the person with my hand up, but why does that do that? A ratio of 1 to 17 is pretty good in that environment, not so good in a lecture theatre of 400 people. You tend to get kicked out pretty quickly. So we have a commitment to have a 1 to 17 ratio in all of our classes, and that does vary at times depending on the, some business lectures might have more than that, but they do have a ratio for the individual support and tutorial supports which bring that down as well. But it does make a big difference, particularly if you are working with young people and trying to help them understand the difference between a learning environment such as ours to a more traditional organisation. This is really important for us as an organisation. We have the highest course completion rate for the ITP, industry training provider sector nationally. So basically what that means is if you come and study at our organisation, you've got the highest chance of doing your training with an organisation where you will get success. So the tertiary sector is audited, for want of a better description, once every 3 years as a minimum by the New Zealand Qualification Authority, and a bit like insurance companies and financial organisations, we have to be able to express the quality of our provision, our delivery, and the quality of the administrative services that support that behind the scenes. So our financial processes, our quality of our courses, etc. And so this is pretty important data for us, and what it means is that we're doing the right thing. It means that employers are employing the right people. It means that we're training people with the skills that employers want in our community, which means getting jobs. So we offer over 150 qualifications from level 1 through to level 7, so that's degree level. A degree is a degree is a degree, whether it's delivered in a university or in an ITP, in a polytech environment. It has to be, it goes through the same rigorous quality processes as at a university for a Bachelor of Design as it does for a Bachelor of Design at Polytech. So it's just the way in which that provision is delivered that makes it different, and that's one of our really key factors and one of the things that we're really proud of. So as you can see there, we've got short courses, foundation courses, degrees, diplomas, certificates, etc. They can be done, like I said before, through a variety of different ways: online, on-site, part-time, full-time, while you're working, while you're at school. Whole hundreds of different ways of doing things. There's always a solution, and that's one of our key objectives over the coming years, is to make sure that all individuals get access to education regardless of what their personal circumstances are about. Our graduates are employed worldwide. You see them, if you watch TV1, you see them regularly on TV, Jack Tame. You see them building in your houses, you see them in the hospitals that you go to, you see them in the businesses and the restaurants and bars that you work in and you go and visit every day. So not just regionally, but internationally as well, and highly considered because of that high quality rating. Our graduates are considered to be up there when they're looking at people's CVs. Now, this is just a range of the programs of study that we offer, and as you can see, they pretty much touch every aspect of the community in one way, shape or form. The thing that is probably most critical for you, whether you be business owners, whether you be rugby board committees, whether you be parents, whether you be influencers of young people, is that all of this provision is aligned to the economic development needs of this community, from Oamaru to North Canterbury to Kaikoura. So none of our provision is about because we just think it'll be a great idea to deliver some more training in journalism. We're only allowed to deliver so much training each year in journalism, depending on what the opportunities for employment are within the community that we service. So that's a really critical thing that a lot of people don't understand about education in the tertiary space, is our funder, the government, only will fund what the needs are to meet the economic development needs of the community. So when people are coming to our organisation, or you're talking to young people or parents in your care about what they might want to do in the future or where they might want to go, and it's something that's on that website or in a brochure that you might get, you can be assured that that will translate into employment if the student is successful and meets the requirements of that employer. So, with all of that in mind, what can ARTA do for rugby and what can rugby do for ARTA? So we're here to support your players through education and employment. We're here to provide your sponsors within your clubs with skilled graduates to help build their businesses and to help continue to provide you with the sponsorship you need to do all the things you've been talking about this evening. Professional development to support your club. So some of the things we've talked about this evening are around financial literacy, around health and safety. We could potentially help clubs put together some of those job descriptions through our HR papers for your treasurers, for your secretaries. We could help you work with you to understand some of the financial requirements that you might want to put in place. It could be around your marketing of your club. How do you put together some, working with you to develop some tools that you use to promote your club both to your members but also to other potential members? How can you look at other ways of generating income for your club? With you often, I assume from the alcohol conversations, that that's probably one of your contributing revenue streams for your club. What are other ways that you might be able to generate income for the club through selling food, barista? What are other things that you could do? How can we support you with that? Our facilities, we're in the centre of the city. We are about the community. ARTA is for this community. It is not a great monolith in the middle of Madras Street that you cannot come and go out of or use. It is state of the art. Like I said to you, if you'd seen the hive of activity there, the facilities that we have there, we have gym facilities, we have fitness training equipment and facilities, gyms that your players, your members, your club committee could attend. If you want to host meetings, a whole range of different things that we can provide support for your clubs through. And so what can rugby do for ARA? Well, it's about helping us talk to our communities around getting access to education. So we have some traditional streams of talking to secondary schools and businesses and those sorts of things, but without trying to offend any of my secondary school colleagues, there tend to be gatekeepers in those sorts of forums. So, all our kids go to this type of learning rather than your type of learning. So how can we get to the parents and the students who would look at this as a different way of having success through education in order to forge successful futures through employment? We can provide you, like I said, with those, you can provide us with the access to your players, to your sponsors and those sorts of things to ARTA as well. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell around what we're here to do for you. It's not just about students coming to study with us full time, but actually it's around providing businesses with solutions, skills-based trained solutions. Doesn't necessarily need to be qualifications. It could be, you've got a group of players that need to do some team building that you're struggling with a particular group of people, or a group of parents in your that aren't getting on very well. How can we do some team building activities with them to support you? And it's about building our community. It's about creating communities of practice that are going to generate and provide positive influence on our city. So we're working hard. Nathan and I and Emma are working hard on working on a community partnership through an equalisation fund, which will be committed to players, clubs throughout the region, and making sure that players that you might have could have easier access to education through ARA for support for fees and those sorts of things, as well as supporting clubs with some of those upskilling and training opportunities. And I know I've spoken to a number of clubs and over the last few months, and that number has continued to increase on a fortnightly basis. So how can we provide an opportunity for rugby in general to build that capability throughout the community?